Does anyone have anything for the minutes?
I think one thing I'd like to say is that I think we're going to start transitioning this telecon a little bit, because this telecon has traditionally been focused on the GRAPE 2 and getting that deployed for the solar eclipses, and we were successful in doing that. And what we still need to do is we need to, we still have Kung Nugent working on getting that data back for us, the full data sets, which I think is on target for happening. I think we also have to do science and analysis of this data. I think we do have another telecon that happens on Monday mornings right now, that's focused on eclipse science. Once Rachel gets through her quals, we might revisit moving when that meeting occurs, because I know it doesn't quite work with the Case Western schedule. But for the moment, we're going forward with that. But the kind of expanded scope of this meeting, I think, is going to be, now that we have the DAISY 2 grant. And the DAISY 2 grant officially started January 1st. So we're now in that. And there's a number of expanded scopes of things that occur in the DAISY 2 grant. And that includes everything from deploying more personal space weather stations to improving and expanding the capabilities of the database system, to having a system a system in place where we're able to monitor the quality of the data that's coming in and keep up with that. And also the systems that we deploy, it's not just going to be GRAPE 2. The new deployment includes funding for Whisper Demon Grapes, magnetometer systems, and VLF receivers, all as part of this deployment. So we need to kind of, make sure we address all of those things. So what I propose is that this telecon really increases in scope to the management of the entire DAISY 2 project. And I don't think she's here today, but I spoke to Christina Collins earlier this week, and Christina has been hired as the official chief operations scientist of the DAISY 2 network. And so, yes, so I think we're going to start seeing her come in more, and she's probably going to take a more active role in helping to manage these things. And I think what we should do over the next few weeks, we should continue more or less where we're going. But what I'd like to do over the next few weeks is maybe ask Bill to come up with a presentation that kind of rolls out what he thinks we should be doing for the website improvement. And if you want to have some discussion before you make that presentation, Bill, we can certainly have some open discussion to get ideas, and then you'll have a chance to present your presentation here. And then you can we'll get feedback. You can get feedback from us, and we'll basically use this time to kind of establish the plan. And then perhaps, Bill, that could end up being your HamSCI workshop talk this year. So you could use this time to kind of really develop that plan, get it all hammered out, and then you can roll it out formally at the HamSCI workshop. And then similarly, we can have Christina work on developing a presentation and a plan of how she's going to handle the chief operations scientist. And she similarly can have a talk at the HamSCI workshop that rolls all this out. So I think we can use this meeting as kind of planning for that. And then that will kind of help set our agenda for how we manage this new phase of the project. Does that sound good?
Yeah, also, I'd like to get a little bit of input as to make sure that I present what you would like to have presented at the Coast Bar ISWAT team meeting in Cape Canaveral in about 2 weeks.
That sounds great. So that sounds like a very important topic to talk about today, perhaps. So maybe Rachel, you can make sure we get that on the agenda. Anything else to add to the agenda today?
Well, as I was mentioning earlier, I would like to show what it looks like when I import the Grape One legacy data into Personal Space Weather Station network. I'll show you that. It'll only take a few minutes, but I'm excited to show this because this was so difficult to get working. So anyway, back to Nick.
That's wonderful news, Bill. Why don't we turn it over to Rachel and she can run the rest of the meeting.
I think we can start with Bill. Because he has a kind of a slot in old business anyway.
You want to do that? All right. Let me something right here. Right thing. Okay. All right. All right, everybody's familiar with this. You go now. I only have one observation in here just for testing, which I just got working yesterday afternoon, so I haven't had a chance to clean this up at all. Here's how you'll access observations from the Grape One legacy systems going back to 2019 or whenever it started. You go into observations down here, you're going to have a Grape One legacy instrument type. If you filter on that, as it happens, I just have one now. I'm going to add all of the stations from Grape One legacy into the system. So we have something that creates the user ID, station, and instrument for that. I have to have that before I can import. And then I do the import. And once I do the import, I do the same thing. I create a trigger directory, which triggers the watchdog to get that, take a look at that data, get the metadata from it, put that in the database, and run a plot of the data. And this is a plot of the FLDigi data. So this is the first station I've created, KD2UHN. Now, these stations are not going to create clutter on the map because they will be marked as retired unless if they're ones that are still working and collecting data, they will show up as green on the map once we start getting data. So this is going to be quite an effort because we're going to have to change all those systems to upload to the Personal Space Weather Station network rather than to the WWV club server, which they're doing today. But this is what one of them looks like. Instead of the old observations from Grape One DRF, it'll have the file name that are used. Anybody who's worked with those Grape One legacy systems will recognize this format. It's the one that John Gibbons and I developed way back when. It has all the metadata embedded in the file name itself. When you click on this, you'll see the metadata will be shown here, and here will be this plot. Now, this particular plot here is the date doesn't conform because I had to get it working in order to show it today. But this is from a different day, but it shows what it's going to look like. I will replace this one with the actual plot from that day, but this will be the plot, which is essentially the same one that we produce for the Grape One DRF stations, in that there's the top level. Well, it's kind of reversed in this you got your peak voltage on the bottom, whereas on the Grape One it's on the top. But anyway, it doesn't matter because they're labeled. So you got your Doppler shift here, and your basically the amplitude on the bottom. So that's the plan, and they will show as gray, and this map is going to become busy, but the ones that are gray are ones that are retired, that are no longer producing current data. And the way it works is if you've got, well, you see the legend over here, and you can go look at more detail on how the legend is just derived over here if you click on that legend. So anyway, that is what I had to show this morning. So back to Ned.
That's wonderful, Bill. Thank you so much. David, what do you think?
Yeah, that's, what can I say? That's wonderful. Having such representations is important here. Partly just to see who's coming in and out of the network, where the volunteers are, what's motivating them, when we need to attract more, where more are needed. I think one of the examples that we should be keeping track of is the University of Tennessee's Grid Eye project, one that's funded by the Tennessee Valley Authority. It's sort of the power line equivalent of GRAPE. They are also using a distributed network run by volunteers of GPS controlled frequency measuring devices. In their case, the frequency that's being measured is electric grid current. And they've been very successful in seeking a network of volunteers across the Eastern Interconnect, the Western Interconnect, and Texas, and following phase and frequency storms in the electric grid in a way that just isn't possible in any other way. It's all volunteers, people drop in and out, and they keep track of it in many of the same ways. I'll put up a link if people are interested.
Yeah, thank you, David. I actually was not familiar with that, and I did just Google it and find it, and that's a really, really good thing for us to know about and look at.
Yeah, it is in many ways parallel to the GRAPE project. I corresponded with the professor running this show a few years ago. I got an odd response from her that amounted essentially to, why would anybody be interested in this? I don't get it. I mean, we can correspond if you want, but why would this hold your attention?
Why would which hold our attention?
The
Yeah.
Grid Eye project.
Why
Yeah.
would we care about the Grid Eye project?
Or why would anybody on Earth except maybe her and this couple of nutcases? And I said, because we're even bigger nutcases. That's one. Yeah, yeah.
Well, you know.
So if people want me to post that, I will. Anybody
Yeah,
interested?
Is that
Yeah.
mainly to
Okay,
look
give me a
at
moment.
the Tennessee Valley Authority power?
It's
grid?
University of Tennessee,
I think
Nashville, I
I
think,
found it, David. I can just put it right in the
if you would.
chat if you want. Yeah.
They're mainly going to be looking at TVA grid phase.
No, that's not correct. It's all three US interconnects plus surrounding ones.
So
It's
Southern
funded by TVA,
Pennsylvania.
but it's not limited to their service area.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely, they have a very nice US map, and they have a lot of people listed as partners, people and institutions.
They do.
So
I don't see that they have kept up their webpage of real-time data and animations. Maybe that they would like a hand with it, that program has run its peak course and it's time to pick it up by maintainers.
Yeah, I don't know.
Bill Engelke, how will those Grade 1 legacy systems be upgraded to upload their data to the PSWS network system?
That's something we have to figure out. That's
Yes.
a non-trivial problem. But if we want to get current uploads from them, we're going to have to do something. We'll have to go and touch each one of them and add code to upload to PSWS system.
Has any work been done in that area?
Not yet. You know,
Okay.
this project was just done 2 weeks ago, so.
What file transfer are you going to use to get the data?
LFTP. Under the covers, it uses SFTP, but the same way we upload the Grape 1 DRF data. It's very nice, it's secure, and within a single LFTP command, you can do the upload and create and mirror, so you can upload multiple times and you can create the trigger directory, and yeah, it's very nice the way it works. So
I think this is really good. Bill, is that something, is that developing that uploading process, is that something you're looking to ask people for help with, or is that something you've got covered, or is that something you're assigning to your students?
what would be what I would love to have is help from whoever's available, someone who's got some technical capabilities, but it doesn't have to be real sophisticated. We just have to put something on each of those systems that's still running. Something like the uploader that we have installed on the Grape One DRF systems. It'll be something like that. And I would love to have help from a volunteer, because my students are going to be mainly working on the website, I think.
Is there anyone who's interested in helping Bill out with that?
Don't everybody talk at once.
I mean, it's if we want to recruit a volunteer, you know, we just let people know about it. Maybe the New England Grape Group or Dave, if you want to ask around and see if anyone is interested in helping Bill with this, or else we can have you know, have Gary write up a little advertisement for a volunteer job on the Grape listserv, and we can try to get you some help.
That's probably the way to go.
I would think a specification would be a first step.
Well, the main thing is going to be a process. The code itself is not complicated at all. I mean, I can take the existing upload code and show it to somebody, and together we can, somebody who knows Python, and together we can figure out how we have to change it. And I think the changes may actually be quite simple. The hard part of this is getting it installed and working on something like about 50 different systems that are running all over the country, all over the world, I guess. So,
I mean, that'll depend on how, if we can write up a really good set of instructions, because most of the Grape One legacy units were built by their hosts, following John's very accurate and detailed instructions, and high percentage of people were successful at it. So we can probably repeat that model, but we got to have those instructions for them to follow.
We can also ask David and Rachel if there's anyone at Case, any radio club students who'd be interested in working on this.
it would be great to have help from Case on this, because after all, the Grape One legacy systems were designed and promulgated out into the field by Case.
Released into the wild, I think, is what you're looking for.
Yes.
How about a note to our club president, Grace Ansberg, and the professor who runs the senior project program, Greg Lee? Bill, if you want me to send email addresses to you, I will.
All right. All right.
I see Jamal has his hand up.
I just couldn't hear the specifications of the volunteering point, so I just wanted to know the specs.
So basically, Jamal, the system is a Raspberry Pi based Linux system, and it generates CSV files, very small CSV files on a daily basis, and some sort of script needs to be written to upload it to the University of Alabama server. And that script needs to be developed in such a way that it includes the correct authentication information and metadata for each of the for each of the Grape stations. And we also have to have some method of deployment of this update because the original grape receivers were not really, we just sent Raspberry Pi images out to these people, SD card images, and those haven't been updated in about, probably 2 or 3 years. So it's the person would either have to go on to their Raspberry Pi console themselves and download this thing and run some program on there. So, and there's how many of these stations, Bill, out there?
I don't have the list in front of me. Somewhere between 50 and 75, if memory serves.
Yeah, so it's a little bit, so there's a combination of a script writing challenge, a logistical challenge, things like that. I think, Jamal, though, I think the best use of your time for this project is focusing on that PyLab ray tracing. That's incredibly important.
I predicted your response, Dr. Nathaniel. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that all sounds great, Bill. I really, really appreciate that. And I think, yeah, trying to work with Case and maybe with Gary to find some people to help you out with this, I think would be a really good way to do this.
Have a request that somehow the users be notified if their systems fail. My Grape DRF failed for more than a week before I noticed that it wasn't working, and put it back in operation. And it may have had something to do with a power outage, because I had a lightning detection system fail in exactly the same way, a very brief power glitch or something. But that would be very handy for me.
Well, yeah, all you have to do is go into your station and turn on email notification. You'll get an email if we don't get an upload.
Okay, I was not aware of that.
And I think part of this.
Will that be? Okay.
Part of Joe, I think that's an excellent request, and that has actually been incorporated into the new grant plan. And anyone who would like to kind of see what the new grant plan is, I can work on getting a version of that probably posted to the website, or send me an email and I can send you a copy of the plan. But that's one of the reasons we created the position of Chief Operations Scientist, which is what Christina's going to be. She's, one of her charges is to work with Bill Engelke on developing a essentially automated system to make sure that the data that's coming in is coming in and coming in well. And if it's not coming in, there's supposed to be some process of notifying the user. So that's supposed to be something that's in the current scope of work.
Well, here I can take like 20 seconds and show Joe how to do this.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Joe, here's how you do this. Here's how you do it. Go in on the personal space for the station network and open up your station. Go here, and this is my station. And if I want to change something, I hit edit station details, and down at the bottom here, you've got this receive email notifications if your station goes offline, and then you click that on and hit save changes, and it will send notification to whatever you have as far as your email on your user account.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you, Bill.
So try that and let me know if you have any trouble with it. The last time I checked, this was working.
As you get the Grape 1 and Grape 2 data in, will it also have that same option?
Yeah. Yeah, and if you quit using your station, you'll start getting emails every day, so you can just turn it back off again, same way. Because some people, for whatever reason, quit running their station. I mean, if you move or whatever, so yeah, you can disable it. Same way as I just showed you. Turn it off.
And when you retire a station after more than 3 weeks of no data collection, if that station starts transmitting data back to you, will that reset?
Yeah, it'll come back online. Yeah, yeah. There's various ways that recognize what I call a heartbeat. You can, if you don't want to, there's a way you can send just a heartbeat. And anytime there's an upload, that counts as a heartbeat. So as long as we're getting heartbeats from the station, it will go green on the map.
Bill, could you put on your list an email sent to stations once a week or once a month indicating how many files were uploaded?
Yeah, that's doable.
I've wondered if my Grape One that's been collecting data for since before COVID is actually still doing anything of any value. I've been reassured that it is, but it's hard to tell.
Yeah, one of the things in phase 2 is a data quality package. And it's going to take a look at data that's uploaded and evaluate. We do have a few Grape One DRS stations that it looks like there's no antenna. So we're getting a package of noise being uploaded every day. I mean, we're going to detect things like that. We can also do what you suggest. This be something you could turn on and off, similar to the way you turn on and off email notification for station down. You can request, you'll be able to request that you get a little report each whatever, and once a week or whatever we decide. And it'll tell you the number of files and what was the quality and analyzer's evaluation of those files. We do have several people who are uploading files each day that doesn't look like, it looks like just connected to a noise generator. There's nothing from WWV in there, and they don't know it. So, I mean, generally, I had thought that people would go and look at what their stations are producing and then take action if they notice there's no WWV showing up in the signal, but several people have not been doing that. So, and of course, none of that's set up for the Grape One legacy system yet, but that's something we could put in to all stations, because the idea is that this will be a clearinghouse for all kinds of uploads. All the great variations and all of the Whisper Demon variations. So,
Bill, have you been able to upload the legacy data from Zenodo for the Grape One?
Yes, I have it all. I have it all
Okay.
on my system, and I will be importing it into the personal space with the station network and generating the graphs that I showed earlier. Did you see when I showed the graph that I'm generating now? That is to do that. Now it's going to take a while because there's like 66,000 files out there, but it's got to be more like 80,000 now, because I took a snapshot of this in October, and it took me this long to actually get that working. So there's been all these uploads since then. So we'll have to get that. That's all on the WWV ARC server, the more recent stuff. So
the one question I had is, who is collecting the Grape 2 data?
The Grape 2 data is currently
It's at the WWV website, but is anybody taking it from the WWV website to another repository? I'm unaware of anybody collecting the Grape 2.
I'm not sure.
So we have a hole there. We have data that needs to be backed up, but it's the Grape 2 data.
Yes, well, there's also, but that data that you have is the narrowband FLDigi style data.
Correct.
No,
that's Grape 1.
No, for the Grape 2 data, that's also narrowband FLDigi. The stuff that's going to your server is narrowband FLDigi style data. I have an entire graduate student who's fully funded and dedicated to his whole master's thesis project is getting that Grape 2 data onto Bill's server.
And that's all the Grape 2 data that's on everybody's hard drives still.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes. Yeah. So that's all of the Grape 2, and not just the narrowband FLDigi style, the raw IQ data. So
correct.
So there is process going on there, and that student, he he just gave a presentation on it at the AGU meeting in December, so I can send you that if you wanted to see it. But
Yeah, I'm
it
just
is,
curious.
yeah, it's in progress. So that is
Good.
being paid attention to.
Excellent.
Bill, if you already have an account for the DRF systems, will the original Grape 1 data just be another instrument, or is that going to be a separate account?
It'll be another instrument.
Okay.
Yeah, now, one of the, just so everybody knows, we support multiple instruments on a single station. It's just that with the current setup, and I don't know if it makes sense to try and change this now as far along as we are. I don't support two instruments of the same type on the same station. If you have two, like if you are running two Grape 1 DRF instruments, then those need to be two separate stations, even if they're at the same physical location. It has to do with naming conventions and stuff that goes back over 5 years, and it's very difficult to change at this point. So back to Ned.
Gary, I just thought of something. Can I give you a task?
Sure.
On the website, can we rebrand this meeting from Grape Low Cost PSWS Telecon to HamSCI Personal Space Weather Station Operations Telecon?
Yeah, I can fix everything up except the calendar.
I can fix that up.
Yeah, okay. HamSCI PSWS Operations Telecon, is that it?
Yes.
Sure.
That's great.
Yeah, I'll probably stick a news item on the front page too, just to make it complete.
Yeah, and you can say that it's hosted, right now it says it's hosted by Case Western Reserve, but you can say it's hosted by University of Scranton, Case Western Reserve, University of Alabama, or something, or just hosted by HamSCI, but that way it's hosted by all of us. Hey Rachel, how are you?
Good.
Thanks. Great. Bill, would you like to talk about the iSWAT?
Yeah, let me start another page of notes.
Right.
Yeah, right. The only thing I know of to talk about that we can talk about in 3 weeks from now is just the fact of the same thing we presented by way of a poster at a few conferences, the fact that we're putting all this data from the various spotting networks into Madrigal.
Mm-hmm.
And anything else that you think is appropriate.
Well, I think, so first of all, we should tell everyone what iSWAT is, because I don't think everyone knows. iSWAT is the International Space Weather Action Team. And iSWAT is run by Masha Kuznetsova, is that right?
Kuznetsova.
And Masha is the director of the NASA Community Coordinated Modeling Center. And she is a very energetic person. And she has been working to get me and HamSCI involved in iSWAT for a number of years. And traditionally, I have not been able to participate to a very high level because of family commitments and other commitments. And I've been sending Bill Engelke to this iSWAT meeting every year. So he's going again, and it's in Florida. But now we have a new person who's working with us, and that's Kukai Hazumi, Dr. Kukai Hazumi, who's currently working as a postdoc here at Scranton remotely. And she, before she was working for Scranton, she actually worked for Masha at the NASA CCMC. So she actually was at NASA CCMC. So both Bill and Kukai are going to this year's iSWAT meeting. So I think we should do, Bill. I can tell you that Kukai is very busy today and tomorrow preparing for certain things. But I think we should get in touch with Kukai and then plan for sometime next week to have kind of a strategy meeting of what you're going to do together at the ISWAP meeting. And Kukai is also going to be representing HamSCI at the at Orlando Hamcation, which is right adjacent to the ISWAP meeting. So Gary, perhaps we can talk about this in this afternoon's telecon too. Because I think Ed F-Check might be going to Hamcation.
Yeah, he's definitely got a ticket. I know he's going.
Okay, so I don't know. I know we had something in the newsletter about HamSCI at Orlando Hamcation. So I don't know, or I don't think we have an actual table there, but right. But maybe just since Kukai is going to be there and since Ed's going to be there, maybe we can coordinate with them to have some sort of like a HamSCI meetup for hot dogs or something, or other whatever people want to meet up for. Have like a HamSCI dinner or lunch, and then that way we can send that out to the listserv, and then they can just informally meet. We can say Ed F-Check and Kukai Hazumi from HamSCI are going to be there, and you have a chance to go chat with them and anyone else who wants to go. That way at least, you know, we put in the newsletter. Kukai's going. We can make it somewhat official.
I usually go to that Hamcation, but I can't this year on account of a conflict with a church-related workshop that occurs that Saturday. And that Sunday I have to drive to Orlando anyway for the Coast Bar ISWAT. I'll be staying at my daughter's house and driving over to Cape Canaveral every day for that meeting. So
that'll be really good. Yeah, so I think it'll be yeah.
Here is what I would suggest for Hamcation too. There are lots of times there are tables where people put stacks of notifications about upcoming Hamfest and all that. If you send Kukai with 50 or 100 copies of the HamSCI, that glossy magazine that we put out when it was about a month and a half ago, people will pick that up. Yes, send her with a stack of those if you got plenty of them, and out, and people will pick those up and read them. They look so good. Definitely people will be interested in reading those.
And when do we need to get those to her by?
Well, before she leaves to come to Orlando for the Hamcation,
which is
on something like February 8th, something like that.
Okay, February 7th through 9th. Yeah, it says so right here.
Yeah, she's planning on attending, so that's
well.
Another option is you could also send them to Ed since he's driving there. It may be easier than her deal with them on an airplane, but that's...
no, but make sure they get there. And I think actually, yeah, we should definitely. I should have a whole bunch shipped to Ed because you know, he worked so hard to. This was really his baby, and so I think he will really appreciate getting to see these things glossy. And yeah, so I can work on getting him a shipment of these things. Well, Ed will be on this afternoon, Gary?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe put that on the agenda for this afternoon. We can coordinate with Ed. And I might see if Kukai is able to come on this afternoon. So, and then we can coordinate with her too.
Now, if that thing is also online, you could probably give it ARRL a link to it, and they would probably put it on their website. So that's an idea. Yes.
Yeah, and it is online. I have sent it to the ARRL before. I don't know that we've had them publicize it, but we can look into that. And Ed's on the ARRL publicity committee too, so he might be able to work that out. I think that's really good. Anything else for today? Rachel, did you have anything else on the agenda?
Nope. Well, and I don't think John are here.
You don't think what?
I don't think John's here either, and I don't think either is, unless Kung's with you.
No, Kung's not here. The Scranton students come back next week, next Wednesday. Maybe you want to hear a few stories from David 88Y and the what do you call it? And the case communication systems class. How is that going, David?
Oh, for people who don't know, I picked up the communications systems and signal analysis class. It's an electrical engineering class targeted at third-year students. I have a span from second year into master's students, actually. We are teaching it in the adjacent classroom at the same time to Rachel's calculus class. What Rachel doesn't know is that I planted a white noise generator in the corner of her class to make it more difficult for her to hear any of my math descriptions, because she would probably have steam coming out of her ears if she heard some of the ways that I'm describing direct delta function and some other things. Yes, Rachel?
We did hear your demos yesterday.
Yeah, that was an error. I'm sorry.
No, it absolutely woke my class up. It was great.
Well, that's the nature of the error. Yes. We have a big span of students to get up to speed in the math problems of how AM works, how FM works, how receiver architectures work, how digital baseband coding works, the line codes. So the textbook order begins with a straightforward description of Fourier analysis. I projected that discussion. It's a good textbook, don't get me wrong, but you sort of have to have taken the class before the textbook makes any sense. So the opening section on Fourier analysis, I put it up on the screen and told the class no one could possibly look at the math on this first page and naively have any idea what it's talking about. We have begun with a slower and kinder and gentler approach to the math, beginning with windowing functions and direct delta function. The example sprung on the class, so to speak, of an acoustic impulse was a mousetrap yesterday. That woke
that's
up.
a good.
It was good, actually. That worked well.
That's a good choice.
And that's what we're doing. And we're working with Nathaniel on his version of it at Scranton. He's a week behind, so there's a phase lag. But what do you have planned?
Hopefully we will constructively interfere.
Yeah, that's yeah, right. I couldn't have put it better. I'm sorry. What do you have planned for first sessions?
My plan, I don't have it planned out yet. My plan is I'm hoping tomorrow to dig into that. I have been just trying to keep my head above water with all the management of everything else, and since the class isn't till next Wednesday, I've still been
all right, take a look at the lesson plans that I've been putting into the Google Drive with the annotations after the class actually takes place.
That will be, and actually that is my my plan, is basically to go look at your lesson plans and try to, so I'm actually gonna try to piggyback off of you, if that's
good.
Okay.
No, of course it is. Yeah, but let's talk about it. But yes, of course it is.
Yeah, but that is in fact my plan. And because I think you have a really good approach. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I did order the signal generators that Christina wanted, so they should be here within a couple days. So
good. The subtext there for everyone is that there's a series of YouTube videos by W2AEN, I believe it is.
Yeah, they're really good.
He's really good. And
really good.
The first one of his that I spotted long before COVID was a description of in-phase and quadrature analysis, and an extension of that into a laboratory demonstration showing off phasor analysis. We more or less duplicated it and have made it, Christina and I more or less duplicated, took it on the road a few times. It showed up at HamSCI, and we have made that one of the central themes of the class, describing modulation systems in phasor terms, because this demonstration is so good. So we'll see if we can compare notes and make it work as well in both places.
I think that's wonderful. Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to this. The other thing, I don't know how many people here actively use ChatGPT?
Constantly. Absolutely constantly. It's the most amazing tool I've encountered. I could not use Git without it at this point.
Yeah, I won't claim to constantly, but I use it.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, you know, based on, I listened to Rob Robinette, Bob McGuire, N4HY, has been saying how amazing it is for a while. He's been telling me that for about a year. Same with Bob Gertzoff. And I listened to Phil Karn and Rob Robinette here talk about it for about an hour on Monday night. And I'm starting to incorporate it into my workflow. And I can tell you, I put a particular prompt in there for something I wanted to do, and I was amazed at the result it gets. And so I would, you know, if I would encourage people to go try using it if you don't have it. I was able to just go to the Windows Store and the Apple Store, Windows Store on my Windows computer and the Apple Store on my Mac, and was able to install ChatGPT. And I would encourage people to use this if you're not using it already. And we can even say something like, what is the HamSCI? I haven't tried this yet, personal space weather station.
I mean, I use it. It gives me blocks of bash code. I mean, it isn't intelligent in the sense that, you know, it makes mistakes, but boy, it introduced me, for example, to the program called WavePack for wave file compression of the floating point sample files. I was unaware of it, as was Phil, and I'm impressed that it can compress floats files by a good third. It's not, you know, amazingly good. A program I never would have heard of. So that's the kind of stuff I get from it. And another thing I wanted to interject, if there's a moment, I'm just about to start to upload 32-bit float DRF files with 32-bit float samples in them. Now these will be 2 to 3 times larger than the existing files. So I hope that this increased use of the personal weather station server is an acceptable trade-off for our project, because I think the float files are, I think, much more valuable than the WAV files, because you don't need metadata. We'll be able to trace, I think, certainly with the use of the active antenna, we'll be able to trace the sample values in the wave files, in the 10 hertz wave file, back to the E field intensity presented to the antenna. We are calibrating the whole receive chain, given that we have a known antenna, and we'll do the same for the DX engineering if that's what we choose.
Look at this. I just wrote this prompt. Please write me a Python code that can plot HamSCI, PSWS, HF, Doppler shift data stored in digital RF format. And it gives me like instructions for getting digital RF in Matplotlib and NumPy. And it gives you a script and directions. As Rob said, it's not perfect, but holy cow, like, it can give you a real leg up. And if you don't understand this, you can ask it more questions. So I can also tell you that in about a month, I have to write an annual report for the Solar Eclipse QSO Party project. What I'm going to try doing is I'm going to upload the information that Gareth and Kuldeep give me about what NJIT has been doing. I'm going to take the reports that you gave me about that you've posted about the Solar Eclipse QSO parties. I'm going to upload those to here. I'm going to upload the presentations I've given at AGU and things like that. And I'm going to upload a copy of the original grant proposal. I'm going to say, ChatGPT, please use all these documents and write me an annual report that I can submit to NASA. And I'll see what it gives me. And, you know, if it works out well, I'll use it. I will, of course, you know, disclose on there that this report was written with the assistance of ChatGPT. But these reports that just summarize the work that we've been doing are incredibly time intensive for me, and also are an incredibly important part of the process. So Yeah, if you aren't using ChatGPT yet, I recommend you start playing around with it. I think it's an incredible tool for citizen science and for learning.
I was using it the other day. I asked it for a biography of my grandfather, and I gave the name and birth date and city and state and so on, and his wife's name and so on, and it totally hallucinated.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I think
it can be
so that,
wrong. And I also had it write a piece of code several months ago, and it wouldn't compile.
mm-hmm.
But it needs tuning.
It does. But I think it's a really interesting starting point. Similarly, last semester, I gave my digital signal processing class an assignment. I said, here's FL-Digi. FL-Digi can produce art RIDI and decode RIDI. I'm like, please use either ChatGPT or Anaconda AI and ask it to write you a RIDI transmitter. And then I'll know that it works if you can have that Python code. You put in a signal, a string of text that you want to send. It'll produce the audio. If I can decode it successfully using an actual version of FL-Digi, then I know it works. So, so perhaps not amazingly, but none of the students actually got it to work right. And I don't know what that says. So you're right. It takes additional tuning, but it did certainly start producing sounds that looked like if we kept playing around with it, kept tuning it, adjusting the frequencies and the timings, I think we would get it to work. So I think it is useful. I think there's a place for it. It's a very emerging technology. So we, like you said, does hallucinate, but I think it is absolutely worth being aware of and trying to use in your toolkit, just like any of the other tools we use, or you use a calculator or you use Microsoft Word or anything else. It's another tool in our toolbox that we can use to help us potentially get to the next step.
Well, Gamal asked an interesting question. Is this free to use or do you have to pay for it?
That's a great question. I asked Rob Robinette the same question, and he said he uses the free plan, and I'm using the free plan too. So I just downloaded it, and you have to log in. So I have a Gmail account. I just clicked log in using Google, and then I was already authenticated on Google, and I'm just using the free plan right now.
Okay. May I comment about the usage of ChatGPT, the free plan?
Yes, please.
Actually, after some prompts, they just limit the usage until after about 5 hours, 8 hours, etc., based on the documents you are going to submit. For example, if you submit a PDF, for example, which needs more processing to extract information from, it just treats after 2 prompts. If you still asking him, give me what, yes, no, about it may give you about 10 prompts without media upload. So that's a restriction of ChatGPT. And actually, so I have found a workaround if you would like to use it for multiple times, finish your task, but it will be very exhausting for you. I mean, you can have about 3 accounts of Google and both the triplets of them. But the problem is, and that's an intelligence in ChatGPT. ChatGPT uses history in the chat, so it's very easy for me to ask ChatGPT a question, and then he knows the history, and he extracts some history of knowledge in order to get the info as a friend, as a researcher who's dealing with me. You have history of research, then he might know that, okay, you have asked this question 1 week before, then there are some similarities between now and then, like someone who's talking to you. That's why they make a free plan to limit you. So I've thought about this workaround to use multiple Google accounts at the same time. So when one account holds the free plan and wait until 5 hours later, I will use the other Google account. But that's not efficient if I'm going to for a certain task. There is an ethical problem, and I'm facing when students are using it. I'm teaching Python, and unfortunately, the students cheat from ChatGPT and upload the code as they are the ones who did this work. And that's an ethical problem that's going to happen. So they got zero. To be honest.
Something else you should be aware of is that at least this has been my experience, if you have a Windows 11 system and you say you want to run ChatGPT, oh, it'll say it's running ChatGPT, but it's actually hook you up to Microsoft Copilot.
Hey.
It's Microsoft's effort at doing something comparable to ChatGPT. You have to really work at it to use ChatGPT. You have to really want it because Microsoft wants to push you to using Copilot. So
Interesting.
Another point, I think it's really bad in hackathons and competitions. I contributed to NASA Space Apps 2024 this year, and unfortunately, I've been filtering the paragraphs using ChatGPT to remove the repetitions, etc., and to make it make the flow much easier. But they did not allow the usage of ChatGPT, and that was a great problem because we have been using it in research papers, by the way. Some entities consider it as a plagiarism. I don't know why.
So, and that's why you do have to disclose this, and there's a lot of, but it's a bleeding edge thing. Okay, I need to. It's now almost 11 o'clock. I have to sign off, but thank you very much, everyone, and I will see some of you at 4 o'clock today.
Have a good week, everyone.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, folks.
Bye.